All right, welcome in everyone. Sorry about that. I had to change our follower-only chat to 0 minutes instead of 10 minutes since we're not doing the around the campfire stream. That's we're going to go ahead and add that in on Monday evenings from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. We'll update our schedule here on Twitch and our schedule that we have up on the when our stream isn't up as well. We'll put that up on our Discord server also. Welcome into Dungeons and Deliberations yet again. We are working on adventure crafting, basically. Just kind of walking through in each episode how I process writing adventures. But what I end up doing when I'm either creating an adventure for a homebrew game with my core D&D group, or whether I'm writing something for the Adventurers League, for the organized play system for Dungeons and Dragons and Wizards of the Coast. So what we did the last few episodes is we worked through the background of the adventure. We've gone through the adventure overview, kind of breaking it down into its different parts. And then we've gone through with the adventure hooks, ways that as a DM, of course, as I mentioned, I do write a lot for AL and the stuff that I do. But you can, of course, play any adventure that's for Adventurers League as a homebrew game. So, this definitely will not be published as a Adventurers League adventure, but it's kind of the format that we go through in writing them. So these adventure hooks are ways that you can get the characters all together inside the adventure. You could, as a DM, if you wanted to role play each one of these with the characters, if you wanted to expand on the adventure hooks themselves, pardon me, and you could do so. This is just a way, if you want to make it to where the characters can get together without having to, hey, you all meet in the tavern, and there's a bunch of quiet time while one player decides he's going to go first and try to meet the others. You can already have them all together. So then we went through and we're just kind of outlining what's happening in each section. Not really outlining, more like just blurbs, just a little bit overall basic story, basic premise of what happens in each section. We have a call to action, which is what the characters receive the adventure. We have part one. We've broken it down to where the adventure is going to be about 4 hours long, is what we hope for it to be once it's finished and written up. Of course, after we're done with what we're going to be doing, probably today we'll be finishing up, or at least starting, I should say, part 3. Since part 3 is the largest section of the adventure, inside of the tower. Basically, what we've got so far is that we've gotten a village, Westfall, a tower outside that used to kind of look over, a wizard that owned the tower used to look over the village. He hasn't been seen in a long time, and recently they've been finding things like lights and such like that in the upper levels of the tower, and the characters are sent or hired to investigate the happenings there. So right now, tonight, again, we're working on the party exploring the tower's interior. Last week, when we left off, of course, we do want to try to have encounters that have a combat resolution, have an exploration resolution, and also have a social resolution. That way, players the DM, knowing whatever their players prefer, can take those different paths through the adventure. If your characters aren't really big into combat and they're more into social and exploration, you can do both of those. Obviously, combat encounters usually take longer than social encounters and exploration encounters. So you can, even if you want, pair up the exploration and social aspects of the game, or of the encounters. So we just finished last week arriving at the tower. Character is going to go through a puzzle, basically, to try to find out how to get into the tower, basically to find a key, and then use the key to open the door. The door will appear, opening, allow them into the tower. Once they're in the tower in part 2, they will confront the first room, the foyer of the tower, and its guardian. This is written for first level characters, so it is a animated armor and a flying sword. We did the combat encounter here. We briefly described the exploration encounter, which would be like an escape room type of situation. And then we also made a social counter for the characters to kind of maybe even have the armor and the armor kind of talk with like a magic mouth or something like that, protected image or something of that nature, programmed illusion or something. And then kind of asking them questions to know if they're a good moral and stuff like that. As again, we're writing the adventure for characters to be, considering the characters that are the characters are the heroes, and not nefarious group of bandits or something. This adventure probably is not for them, but it goes through different things for the social aspect, allowing the characters to eventually claim the sword and the armor as part of the treasure that they can get inside the tower. So now we're going to move on to part 3, which is the tower interior, I believe is what we put it up here. We can always rename them later on. The tower interior. And this is going to last an hour and 45 minutes. Oops. Oops. All right, we're going to say past. We're obviously going to have it, magic. It's not necessarily maybe a demi-plane or something of that nature, but we're going to have it to where when they pass through the door of the foyer into the tower itself, the interior of the tower is definitely larger than it appears from the outside. What I might do is take some time next week as we're working through these different things is to actually bring up one of the map programs that I use, because what I like to do when I'm designing certain encounters, specific encounters, we can go through and do these general things. But as I mentioned before in one of the past broadcasts, is that I like to have maps, like have a visual to the inside of the tower. So what we can do is maybe work a little bit on like how many different floors there's going to be for the players to encounter, because it's going to be an hour and 45 minutes. We can break that down into basically 7 15-minute parts to where we can have like maybe each floor. We're obviously going to spend more time on some floors than others, but we don't have to have it necessarily even a tower structure. We don't have to have them start at level 1 and work their way up to the top. It could definitely be a series of small portals that will take them to a certain area, things of that nature, just different ways for them to get through the tower. Or we could also make some of the tower levels where they do traverse stairs to get up to the next level, and then the next level they have to use a portal or a secret door that leads to a secret stairs to go up to the next level. But let's go ahead and say we'll just put it. Let's go back again. I haven't looked at these. These are all this information, all these ideas are just off the top of my head. So let's go back and see how the tower we said is about 60 feet tall. So let's go ahead and put 5 levels in the tower. Let's say a large Let's see here. Okay. Um, we'll say that the first room that they come in outside of the foyer is going to be it's just a round. Maybe we can say that the foyer actually was something that was more of like a demi-plane or something like that. But when they come in and enter the door, they are in the roundness of a tower, obviously still a little bit larger than the outside for magical purposes or whatever. And the first room that they come into, it takes up the entirety of the first floor, and we're going to say that it is a large, like receiving room or a sitting room where the wizard will receive guests and things of that nature. Um, we can discuss its decor, um, many works of art. We say there's many works of art hanging on walls, banners, and tapestries of long ago. Um, we're going to say there's a massive fireplace, large enough for an ogre to walk into without ducking. Resides in the opposite door of the foyer. Um, Fire is roaring inside it. Obviously, we're not going to do specific things that you would have like in the box text if you were writing out the adventure. We're just going to point out small little things that the author could note as they're putting together the outline and such. So we're going to say a few short bookshelves are scattered throughout the room with mundane books like history, astrology, philosophy, nature. Um, that way, anyone that was coming into the room, they could, sit down and peruse these non-magical books just to gain knowledge being in the area here. And I'm going to my familiar, my cat. She is awake. I'm going to take a small little quick break and take care of her real quick, as she is an older cat, an older rescue. So she's probably needs something to eat. So give me a few moments. I'll be right back. Sorry about that. All right, so apparently she has gone back to sleep because she was not up when I went down there. So, all right. Let's see. We'll say large stuffed beholders mounted above the fireplace. Looks like there's also a rolling tea cart. Okay, so now what we do, we just described a little bit of the interior of the room. Obviously, if we were going to write it out more, or just if you're just running it from just these short descriptions, you can always elaborate more on the description of the room inside. But what we want to do now just gives us an idea of what's the interior of the room. So let's go with creatures. Let's discuss if there are any creatures in the area here. So we can go ahead and little header there. There we go. Let's see here. Again, we are looking at a first level party. So we don't want to put something in here that's definitely going to test them out, because we want, of course, you want to, if as a DM you want to test the players with the possibility of their characters might die in the adventure, and you are one of those DMs that doesn't really hold back on those types of things. You do want them to still experience the story. So it's kind of at least when I'm running, kind of pointless to open into the first area of the tower and then have a TPK and the story's over there, because the characters don't actually get to experience any of that. But if you want something to where it becomes more dramatic, you can always use these different encounters to kind of sap away at their resources. And since it is 5th edition, we also would want to decide whether or not they would be able to take a long or short rest, or find ways to remedy a situation if the character happens to die in any of their encounters. That way they can at least, it's also really tough to just sit. If your character dies early in an adventure, to people have to sit there for another 2 hours or 2.5 hours while everyone else plays and you don't have any fun. So we're going to go to a monster list here. Let's see here. Let's go with the CRs. Get some ideas. We'll go 1/4 and 1/2 and 1 and see what we've got here. Let's say a blink dog. We could say, I'll say a creature. We'll just name it Spot for now. We can always change it later. We'll say that the blink dog is Lore's familiar. Let's see, what else can we put in there? Let's go ahead. We'll put parentheses here so we can come back and name this. But we'll say fairy dragon. We're going to have the fairy dragon be invisible. And what level do we want to make the fairy dragon? What color do we want to make it? That way, it's could be a situation where it might be in yet another chance for a social, an exploration, or a combat as well. So sources. Fairy dragon as well. Again, we're doing all of this stuff off the top of our heads. That's why nothing's really prepared ahead of time. I actually don't even open this adventure in between the last stream and this stream. I won't open it again before next week as well. So we're going to have this fairy dragon be fairly. It's going to be a CR2. So, because it's going to have to be a violet fairy dragon, because it's going to be 51 years or more older. So what we're going to do, let's go ahead and name the dragon real quick. I'm just something simple like Darby for now. I mean, you can always have you always rename it when we go to have more time instead of pondering too much on it. Violet fairy dragon snoozing invisible in the mantle of the fireplace. Now we can go into bringing some other creatures in that will be the actual combat encounter if it comes to that. So what we can do is just put some smoke methods. Would be we could do something like smoke methods. We could do like star spawn grew, some quarter CR 1/4 things that could be part of the combat encounter. So before we actually design that, let's just go ahead and put down ideas of let's see what else could be part of that. We want something that would be summoned because we want, obviously, the fireplace is going to be where these creatures are going to come from, whether it be the Mephits, even the Starsprung Group can come through from like a small portal or something out of the fire. We could even do something like from like a fiend, like we have dretches. Just jotting down some ideas while we're thinking about it. We could do abyssal wretches. Do Diro. We don't want to do something like a mud method because it's obviously we're looking more at the fire aspect of it. So let's go ahead and drop the Starspawn Grew out since we're going to go with the fire themes, like either the dretches or the abyssal wretch, or the Diro, or maybe a combination of like a couple of Diro and a couple of smoke methods. So yeah, let's do it that way. Because we can look up here. Maybe. I think Diro are in Mordenkainen's Monsters of the Multiverse now. Let's go to our compendium. We can open them up to see what they look like here. Yes, they were in Mordenkainen's Stone of Foes, now in their Monsters of the Multiverse. And I completely were thinking Diro was something else. So let's go ahead and do Abyssal Wretches. Let's look at the ones in Descent into Avernus. I thought there was like a rudder kit, actually. I thought. Maybe not. And plus, it's really cool to put like a challenge 1/4 creature in there, especially when it has something cool like fire resistance, cold resistance. Some of the players like trying fire bolts and things of that nature. Or maybe wanting to use cold because of they don't want to catch the place on fire. We can always add something in there about fire resistance or immunity to the interior things. Let's say 2 smoke methods. So we're going to leave those right there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to connect it and try to figure out how we're going to connect those two smoke buffets and those two abyssal rushes to being summoned from the fireplace in order for the characters to deal with it. And let's see here. Blink Dog is going to be a familiar, even though obviously they're not listed as the familiars listed in Find Familiar Spell. We're going to say, let's do something fun here. Let's have Spot, who is a Blink Dog and does speak Blink Dog and understand Sylvan. Obviously, characters generally won't know Blink Dog, but if they have something like comprehend languages or something like that, and they can do something to calm Spot down, they'll be able to, I think it's with I think I might only do written messages. And you understand the meaning of the spoken language. Okay. So yes, so that'll give them an opportunity to use something like comprehend language to speak, except it starts barking, howling, and Blink Dog. All right, so what we've basically been able to do is then go through and say, okay, Spot, Lore's Blink Dog, familiars resting heavily on the rug in front of the fire, while Lore's friend, we should say, while Lore's friend and sometimes traveling companion Darby, a violet fairy dragon is snoozing invisible on the mantle of the fireplace. The characters enter, Spot perks up from the rug and starts looking about unexpectedly. Obviously, maybe perhaps looking for Lore, but of course, Darby wakes up as well, but she remains invisible. And as soon as Spot sees the adventurers, it starts barking and howling. And Blink Dog, they can see he's excited, but not really aggressive. So then they have to find a way to communicate and understand them. We can maybe have in the writing of the adventure, or we're playing the adventure, have the characters make like an Arcana check or a Nature check, something like that, to let them realize that Blink Dogs actually have a language because they are intelligent Fae. And then perhaps maybe find a way for them to communicate. If they're not able to find a way to communicate, then that's when we have to back up of Darby still speaking invisibly about what's going on, especially about the two Mephits and the two Abyssal Wretches that escaped from Lore's laboratory, and they're hiding in the fireplace. And that's why the Blink Dog, why Spot has been there, kind of guarding it so they can't get out to the fireplace. So what we can do is we can then have this encounter where we have three, again, as we did, and the other one, a combat, exploration, and social remedy to the situation. I'm just going to label these here. So that we can find a way for each one of these to have a remedy. We're just putting little nicknames on here. We can always change them if it ever goes to actually putting the adventure out. So what we'll do is after we get these encounters kind of, let's say, Okay, so what we're going to do is before we actually move on to describing each one of the different encounters, we're going to go ahead and do a little bit about what Spot or Darby will say to the characters. The Mephits are elementals, the wretches are fiends. The fairy dragon is obviously a dragon, and the blink dog is actually a familiar. Um, the time span really doesn't matter for lore, since lore's been going for over a century. They really don't. The passing of time inside the room, we can also describe that there's no windows in the room. Um, so obviously they don't know how long it's been. They just, wander off. They don't really necessarily have to even have any. Maybe the fair dragon, summons some food, or something magical feeds them, or something somewhere where it doesn't really have to be for experienced characters or experienced players are going to be questioning every single thing. But at the same time, it's just supposed to be a fun, quick adventure, or maybe 1 or 2 session adventure for the players. Again, to get into Dungeons and Dragons, as we did mention, we're going to kind of write it as a introduction to the game. Um, so if the characters are able to understand Spot or must communicate with Darby and want to help, Mm. Say hasn't been seen. They don't know that he's necessarily missing. Okay, so we're going to do root them out. So the party can find a way to root the creatures out of the fireplace and defeat them, which sends the creatures back to the native plane. The creatures will fight to the death. And next, we're going to have Trap the Fiends exploration. If the characters prefer to capture the creatures and return them to the laboratory, they devise a way to safely catch them and transport them. Usually, what we'll do, we or whoever else writes it will use the environment of the sitting room to allow the party to craft traps or cages to capture the creatures. Maybe they can get the banners. They can use the stuffed beholder. They can maybe fashion a cage out of the tea cart. They can perhaps maybe take some of the books off of the bookshelves and use the wood for the bookshelves to make some cages or something along those lines. Maybe even take the sitting chairs and use them together. But find a way for them to devise a way to create. Find a way to create stuff from the environment in the room with exploration, with using their skills and just coming up with imaginative ways to use the environment there to capture the creatures. And then we're going to have the final social aspect of it will be, does anyone speak Abyssal? we'll say all right. So we have finished the very first room that was come out of the as they come out of the foyer. We also should probably put label that the sitting room. And so we've gone through, we've described a bit of what the sitting room looks like. We've talked about the creatures that are in there, the blink dog, the fairy dragon, and the mephits and the abyssal wretches that are in there. Gives a fun little encounter for the characters to try to communicate with Spot, the blink dog. If they're not able to, of course, we do have the fallback that Darby, the dragon, is there to help them out as well. And then once they figure out that these mephits and the wretches have escaped from the laboratories, also let them know that they've heard strange things happening in different areas, that will let the players know that the blink dog and the fairy dragon aren't permitted in certain areas and cannot go to certain areas, so they can maybe perhaps act as guides, which we'll deal with next week, as we're coming definitely at the top of the hour, finishing up the stream here for this hour. But we'll be able to finish up a little bit of this section. Let's see, let's go ahead and put this there. Darby is and for Spot are willing to guide PCs after All right, so let's go ahead and leave it for there. Darby and Spot are willing to guide the PCs to the tower. After the mephits and wretches take care of, they will note that there are many places in the tower they are not allowed to enter. All right, so we've got the first room, basically. Again, we're going to have to design a few more of these. Obviously, that's going to take more than 15 minutes. Probably that encounter should, theoretically, we'll say 30 minutes. So that would still leave us about an hour and 15. It might even take 45 minutes, just depending on what the DM does, what the players do, role-playing, having fun, extending it out, etc., etc. We're going to look at that about 30 minutes. We're going to label that here so we can remember this, about 30 minutes. Which will help us out with how much time we have left. But we will pick up next week. The next room that they're going to go to, we'll have them probably go up some stairs. We'll need to put, there are stairs. Let me say there's stairs going up to the right. That way we can have a way for them to get to the next level, and there might be a couple of rooms up there, but we will figure that out next week, as we're not going to try to think about this adventure other than just bringing up, making up stuff on the spot as we're doing this every Tuesday. So that's going to bring us to the end of Dungeons and Deliberations for this Tuesday. I would like everyone to know that we are planning to have some tavern talks tomorrow evening. I'm not really sure exactly. We're still figuring out what our topic is going to be. We might have a guest. We're still waiting to hear from that. But if we don't, we'll still stream, maybe take some questions and answer some other stuff about D&D in general. Continue talking about stuff that can help new players and new dungeon masters, as Don Shin and I did last week. I will be streaming our dungeon delving on Thursday from 2 to 4. But Thursday is my birthday, so we are not going to be streaming dungeon delving on Friday. As I think my wife has something planned for us to do for the weekend. I'm not sure. We'll see. But we will be back on Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to pick back up our live D&D gameplay. We will be playing Masterpiece Imbroglio Part 1. We do have it's a fifth level adventure from Keys from the Golden Vault. We will have a couple of our community members joining us to play that game as well. Unfortunately, Don Shin's going to be out of town for that game for the first part. He will be back for the second part, but he's going to be out of town for the game. So we'll have 4 players playing on Sunday evening. So that should be a lot of fun. Tune in for that. Check that out. We want to thank all of our supporters, of course, especially our patrons from Patreon. If you'd like to help support the channel, please go ahead and consider becoming a patron. We do have tiers up there now, or perhaps maybe even subbing here on Twitch. That will help the channel as well. Of course, the link to our Patreon page, as well as all of our social media accounts, can be found in the About Us section down below here on Twitch. If you want to go ahead and check out those links, subscribe to us on YouTube, follow us on Facebook, give us some likes, retweets, all that good stuff. Every sub, like, and share helps us immensely. You can also support us by clicking on the About Us section below and join our Master of Dungeons community Discord server, where you can help shape a caring and accepting community. We also have our merch store up and going now. There's some t-shirts, some glasses, things of that nature. You can check that out and the merch store link below as well here on Twitch. And of course, tips are always welcome, but definitely not expected. Again, thank you all so much for the support. Hope you had a great Memorial Day, and hope you have a great rest of your week. Hope we'll see you sometime this week. Again, thanks for watching. And as always, happy adventuring.